Well, good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for being here. I bet you had a busy day outside enjoying the sunshine. I know I did, and it's awesome. And I'm so grateful for each of you taking the time out of your busy schedules to spend some time with us here today. Myself and Melissa, we are the S.M.A.R.T Realty Solutions team, and we are so happy to share some information with you because I strongly believe that information is power. And by giving you excellent information tonight, I hope to inspire you to build on some of the learning we had from last week and to really give you some hands-on tools that you can use to move your battle plan forward. So I wanted just to say thank you again, welcome. And normally we would be doing these very interactively. We would be in a library or a seniors community center or some other place like that where you'd be able to ask your questions and get the answers you need. It's really important to me that by the time you leave here today, if you have questions, that I'm going to do my very best to answer them. So here is one of the things I can tell you about. It's our chat box here. So at the menu, the menu bar there, if you hover over it, you're going to see the option for more. If you click on the more, it's a place where it'll tell you for the chat box, you can add your question into the chat box. And we'll also leave some time at the end for you to unmute. Everyone here right now is muted, and you can unmute and ask your questions there, okay? So without further ado, I will say, welcome, here I am. This is me pre-COVID haircut. I'm a realtor with Keller Williams, and I should reassure you that my purpose here today is not to try to sell you or sell you on my services or whatever. It's really to come from contribution. This program developed originally from my door knocking. I started door knocking at age 50 and noticed in my neighborhood where I live that a lot of people had the same questions. And I thought, ooh, rather than going door to door to door, which is very unproductive, inefficient, let's bring people together. So many of you might have received our yellow newsletter. We've been doing those now a couple of years and getting really good response. And it really answers the questions that so many people ask me when they are thinking about changing homes, and that is, oh my gosh, I'd love to move, but what do I do with my stuff? Whoa, you've not seen my basement. And I go, well, yeah, I have. I've seen your basement over and over again, and I'm here to tell you that we can help you get this going. Okay, so let's begin. This is the order of events for tonight's webinar. So welcome and welcome back. If you are joining us for the first time, I want to make sure that we cover off some of the ground that we did do last week, but because it's kind of an important foundation for us to build upon tonight. And for those of you who were here last week, bear with us. We're going to repeat for a little bit, but I hope it helps to etch some of the teachings into your mind and help you to reestablish your motivation and your inspiration. Okay, so as you can see, we're going to start kind of from almost like a theoretical standpoint of looking at clutter in terms of the heavy price we pay. And it can be measured in a variety of ways, but not the least of which is to your well-being. And we know that a lot of people end up feeling stuck in a home that no longer is a blessing to them. It's a burden, and they can't move because they just don't know how to tackle the amount of stuff that they've acquired. And you know what? It's everyone. It's me. It's you. And the fact that you are here tonight, well, good on you, because it means that you have recognized that this is either currently an issue or it someday will be. And I can tell you from personal experience that as I watch my parents age in their homes, it gets harder and harder for them to take on big tasks. So I think it's great that you're here now proactively, because let's face it, we're all going to downsize at some point, right? And decluttering in preparation for that is a wonderful proactive step. But even if you're not planning on selling your house, we've just had the unfortunate news that we're getting into another tighter restriction with COVID, and our homes now are really more than ever needing to be a sanctuary for us, a place of order and peace and harmony. So I applaud you for being here, and let's get rolling. So we talked about the high price of clutter, and it tends to circulate around the kind of the emotional cost that's involved, a feeling of increasing isolation because we don't feel like we can invite people over if we are embarrassed. I can't tell you how many times as a realtor I walk into people's homes and virtually the first thing they say is, I'm sorry for the mess. It's like, listen, we're not having the meeting at my house, and there's a very good reason for that. So never apologize. You cannot shock me. I am unshockable. And the truth is, we all have more than we need. And that's just the way it goes. But if it's adding to your sense of isolation, or for some people, it's a source of anxiety, that is too high a price to pay to keep stuff that you are mostly not using. Then there's kind of the pragmatic concerns, and even health and safety concerns. But there's also more salient to my role as a realtor is that you are likely living in only 20 or 30% of a house, but having to pay property taxes and having to maintain it and pay for heating and water, all just kind of hold your stuff. So that's also verging on being too much to pay, isn't it? That's probably why you're here. So efficiency and well-being and health and finances, all of it is negatively affected by clutter. We also know that we spend money on replacing items that we have lost, we can't find, or bills that get misplaced, and then we have to pay an interest charge or a penalty. All of these things really start to add up. And interestingly, I think this is so fascinating that it seems like with every new community that gets built up all around us, one of the very first things to be included in this community is a self-storage unit. It's crazy. There's a nail place, a Starbucks, a Walmart, and the self-storage units. And that just speaks to how endemic this issue is, that there are so many people who even their house alone isn't enough to hold the stuff.
How you doing?
I'm on my way home.
Are you coming to Mom?
We just need you to mute.
Okay. So Mama just wants to ask if you can just chill, just be quiet while you guys get here, and we can have a nice time, right?
Melissa, could you mute Andrew, please?
Sounds good?
Yes, I'm good.
Okay, my love. See you soon.
Okay. Okay, perfect. Thank you. So we also know that the cost of running your house, the cost of living in a place that you don't love anymore, all of those are very important considerations. I want to make sure that I didn't miss anything. Yes, the storage unit component. Oh, and I've had clients who literally move from their house into a condo, but then also rent a storage unit for the stuff they just really didn't get to sorting through. It's like they just deferred the decision one step further. So I can totally relate to this, that the adult version of head and shoulders, knees and toes is wallet, glasses, keys, and phone. I'm constantly looking for my glasses. And the irony, of course, is that I need my glasses to find my glasses. So just even those little annoyances of living in a home that's overfilled with stuff, we want to help you get past that. Just smooth out your existence, streamline your household. Isn't that awesome? And we've got a great program for you to help. So we talked about the blockages and some of the things that are holding us back from tackling the decluttering. One of them, of course, has to do with the practical notion of, well, I've spent good money on this, or what happens if I need it again? This is a common thing I hear all the time. I'm going to suggest to you that if you actually do need it, and the chances are 75, 80% that you never will use it again, if that's the very worst thing that can happen, well, guess what? You get to go out and buy it again. But it rarely does, doesn't it? We keep things just in case. And I think there's some fear behind that. Fear that we're going to be without, or fear that we're going to be wasting money. And I know one thing for sure, is that I have never missed a meal unless it has been by my own doing. So I never have to worry that I have to keep things around me just in case. I'm always going to have enough. I'm always going to have more than I need. And so I have been able to let that go. There's also some kind of other negative, guilty feelings that can be associated with holding on to things that you feel that is dishonoring to the memory of your loved one if you don't hang on to the things that they gave you, even though you don't really like them or want them or use them. And then there are some positive emotions too that tend to kind of stand between us and getting rid of things, and the sentimentality of holding on to the remnants of our children's school years, or souvenirs from our vacations, or somehow we feel like those items are the container for the memory. And we know that's just not true. They don't hold the memory, we hold the memory. And we're not being disrespectful to Auntie Ruth by getting rid of her huge oversized dining table. Like, that isn't the way it really works, but we have told ourselves that, right? So let's move forward and look at how we can attack those blockages. We can pull down those obstacles and get moving to a lighter, happier, more streamlined existence. Just want to remind everyone to please mute themselves. Thank you. Well, this is me, and I think I told you enough last week that you can see that this is totally the truth. Me wants to live a minimalist life with little to no clutter, but also me, I'm keeping this math assignment from the 5th grade because I might need it later. When you see it, it's ridiculous. And if somebody else told you the excuses you gave yourself, my word, you would be able to very quickly debunk them, wouldn't you? So let's get into the clutter busting strategy for successful home sales. That's my perspective on things. It's always about giving you knowledge as a realtor, but I think this applies to everyone, like I've said. So even, I don't want you to be put off or put up your own blockage because it's like, well, I'm not planning to sell my home. I just want to learn about decluttering, because this works for everyone, no matter which age and stage you're at or what your intentions are, okay? So it begins with deciding that you have enough, that everything that you have is enough. It's not an amount, it's a decision. So maybe the very first practical step is to make a decision not to buy anything more, not to bring anything more into the house until you have dealt with the clutter. And I know, oh my goodness, this is so hard. With Amazon Prime, I can click a button and have something useless at my door by tomorrow morning. It's crazy. And I know we're all kind of a bit bored and we think we're going to take up a new hobby, and maybe we will, maybe we won't. But for now, let's just put a moratorium on bringing anything in new. Okay, so that's going to be a decision that helps us with our resolution to get decluttered. So we use this idea of a battle plan because clutter is really your enemy for so many reasons that we've already articulated. That just like any endeavor that requires some dedicated effort, we want to have a plan, and a plan feels empowering right from the beginning. As soon as you say, I've got a plan, immediately your anxiety about it or your negativity about it just seems to lift, and we feel just so much better about being able to move forward. A lot of people talk about overwhelm. And so this plan is based on defeating overwhelm. Okay, so we're going to start strong. We know from studies about efficiency experts that when we put it on the calendar and tell somebody else, like partner with an accountability person in our lives, that we have a 3 times greater chance of achieving whatever goal it is. So this goes for all types of resolutions, but decluttering in particular, we want to put it on the calendar. Maybe it's the next month, maybe it's May 1st, maybe it's April 15th, and we write it on the calendar. This is D-Day. You communicate it to the people around you who are going to be affected. Especially part 2 is to give notice to those people who are using your house as free storage. So I don't know what that conversation looks like in your life, but it's about our adult children coming and getting their stuff, or at least making some kind of arrangements or accepting that you will be disposing of it. Okay, so it doesn't mean that you have to be arbitrary, but have the conversation with them, because I know lots of times we hold on to stuff that we think our kids might want and they don't want it. So have the conversation about their stuff and about the stuff that you are holding on to them, and tell them why it's important to you. Tell them why decluttering is a necessity. Get them on board, get them on the team. And I think that when you give them the emotional or moral reason why, or the practical reason, that it really helps to get their buy-in. And face it, we need their cooperation. Then we're going to gather the supplies we need to be able to do battle. We never march into battle without our weapons. And in this case, our weapons look like big contractor garbage bags, disposable boxes, bins with lids. We have the whole list in our workbook that we'll be sending you. That way, nothing is coming between you and your resolve, your resolution. And while your motivation is high, you've got everything gathered and you can start. And then I also want you to think about the end goal that you have in mind, how much better you're going to feel, and how much more room your home is going to have for you to enjoy. I love those commercials, those 1-800 got junk commercials, where they envision, you know, a magic wand where you just tap it and all of a sudden you've got a new room. And I think so many of us, that's kind of what happens. So when our kids leave, that spare bedroom ends up becoming a dumping ground. And you know, we don't intend for it, but it just seems to kind of like settle in like the sands of time. And all of a sudden, you know, you clear that out and you've got a new room. Is that your new craft room, your exercise room, your spare bedroom, whatever that is. And just think of how much better you are going to feel and live in your space. Okay. So we talked about this last week, just want to briefly go over it again, but that it's really important to understand that this is a task that we have to do over time. Like I said, it settles in like the sands of time, and yet we're not going to get it all done in a Saturday afternoon. It's like going to the gym. You don't fit in all your workouts on one Saturday afternoon and think, okay, I'm fit. This is going to be maybe 2 or 3 times a week. And that just in that 25-minute time that we recommend of maximum productivity and focus. We also talked about staying in the area that needs your attention the most, because while your resolution is high, your motivation is high, you're feeling inspired, you tackle the big job first. And then with the reinforcement and the good feeling that you create by doing that, you can go on and win the smaller battles, right? That we're going to snuff out the other little bushfires, but we got to attack the big one first so that we really get that good feeling of accomplishment. Okay, so with the weather good now, we can get out, work in our garages if that's your problem area, or the basement on those, you know, those days that aren't so glorious. But 25 minutes, that's all. We're not talking about a whole week, just 25 minutes a couple of times a week. and you're going to see huge improvement, and you're going to be so glad you did it. So that is sometimes even a little bit too much for us. Maybe we're not physically able, maybe we need to partner with somebody that we trust to help keep us motivated, to keep us on task. Maybe it's we swap work with somebody who's in our social bubble, so that we go to their house and help them for 25 minutes, and then another day they come back to our house and help us for 25 minutes. Because I'm going to tell you, your junk is not nearly as interesting as mine. I love my junk, but I don't love your junk, and I can call it for what it is. But so somebody who you can bring in and help you, maybe it's children who are in your social bubble that can lift heavy things for you, or take it out to the curb, or fill up the van so you can donate it, whatever. Okay. And then we did talk about this a little bit. And in our 1 o'clock seminar this afternoon, this is really something that people wanted to know more about, are the kinds of companies that will help you to sell things. So, I mean, the example on the screen is about hiring a grandkid to run an online sale for you. But there are a lot of companies out there that also do this, and they follow COVID safety protocols. Everything is done from a distance as much as possible. Contact is really reduced. Like, there's a lot of different strategies. But what they can do is help you get that last little bit for those items. And especially if you have a lot, if you have enough that might also be almost like a moving sale or an estate sale. If you had that quantity, they will come in and organize everything for you. Of course, for a commission. It's not free, but they will do it. And if that's what you need, that's what you need. No worries. Okay. So we have put it on the calendar. We've gathered up our supplies. We've recruited our soldiers, our foot soldiers, if that's what's required. And we are now standing in your basement. And you think to me, you say to me, where do I start? Okay, well, we're going to start with campaign Divide and Conquer. Now, if you doubt the efficacy of this strategy, just think of your children when they were little. They were experts at dividing and conquering. If mom didn't give it, dad would, or vice versa. So we know this is a tried and true strategy. And again, nothing that I'm telling you today is rocket science. It's all pretty common sense, but pulling it all together like we have and communicating it out to you, we hope it will give you the little oomph that you need. So what is the first step in Divide and Conquer? Well, it's going to be garbage. And like, don't get me wrong, I'm not thinking that your homes are chock-a-block of garbage, not at all. It's just really that we do have things that are not any use to us and not any use to anyone else. And if that's kind of the category they fall into, regrettably, they are garbage or recycling. We actually have a recycling guide for you that we can send out to you. If you live in York region, we can send that to you. But the basics are that anything that is broken, soiled, or missing parts, things that, you know, you've been hanging on to, you think you're going to repair it one day and it just never happens. Anything that is obsolete technology, or like literally I have handsets to phone bases and bases to, you know, those things get mixed up, VCR, switchers, you know, all of those. We don't need those remote controls to things we don't even own anymore. And lots of times people hang on to packaging like styrofoam peanuts or pieces of scrap lumber that they think, well, maybe one day I'm going to need. No, nobody needs it. Nobody ever uses it. You might actually be able to, from what I heard at Home Depot, you might be able to sell that used lumber and still make, no, I'm joking. But so certain things are electronic waste and those can be recycled, and other things are hazardous waste like the solvents and paints and all of that. And there are depots all around where you can take those and get rid of them as well. So the unfinished craft and sewing projects, you know, I know that hurts. It hurts. But, you know, I ran across this. I put this on the list because I ran across this when my eldest was helping me to declutter. We went into the basement. I had a box of fabric that was all pinned and cut out. It was for skirts. I don't know when I did this, but I'm going to tell you that if I ever get down to that size again, I am not wearing those skirts. So out they went. Like, what else are you going to do with it? I can't think of a single thing that you could do with it. But there's a whole list there. You can read it yourself. Regrettably, you can't keep baby gear because most of it isn't up to safety code now. You can't even donate it. Most of it really is garbage, sorry to say. So there you go. That's a list of garbage. And I love starting with garbage because it's so gratifying. We can just pick it up, pop it in those oversized contractor bags and take it right out to the curb. And you get that immediate gratification of seeing your home become, you know, lighter, brighter. Okay. So the last item is really tough for some people to swallow, the gift bags and tags, because you know what? I am a vowed tissue collector saver. When my kids are little and they'd unwrap the Christmas presents, it's like, give me that, you know, and I'd fold it and reuse it. But I'm going to tell you that I just recently got a quote for a 4-person moving team. It's $179 an hour. So if you are contemplating making a move, are you really going to pay somebody $180 an hour to move your bag of bags? Half the time I forget that I have them and I go out and buy them from Dollarama anyway. So if you're thinking of moving, the more you get rid of, the better in so many ways. Okay. So this is so true. By the age of 35, you should have a huge box of random cables, but you can't throw them out because you're pretty sure you might still need a couple of them. So true. So get rid of it and you're going to be very happy to get on to the next category, past garbage, which is things you can donate. So as you're sorting, you see now why we need the bins and the boxes. This is where you're going to put the donated items. You're going to take the things that still have good life in them, but you haven't used them for more than a year. And those are the things that really are calling out to be donated for somebody else to use them. It's such a great feeling to know that you're going to help somebody else with the things that are really your surplus. So I imagine that the places that accept donations must be somewhat horrified by the things that really are garbage but get donated. But here's my kind of rubric for donating. Would I give it to one of my kids? Yes, then it's possible to donate it. And if it's something that I haven't used in the last 12 months, yes, it's a very good candidate for donation. So lots of different equipment, small appliances, the places that take big pieces of furniture like kitchen sets or sofas, oftentimes they also need just basic run-of-the-mill housewares. And if you are like me and you have a good set of dishes and an everyday set of dishes, why not just use the good set of dishes and donate the everyday? How do we come up with so many pots and pans? I don't know how this happens. I don't ever remember buying a pot in my entire life, and yet I probably have 12 pots. So these are the things that you can donate to somebody else, somebody who genuinely needs them and might be starting all over, somebody who is new to Canada, somebody who's coming from the shelter system, somebody who is getting off of welfare, escaping bad situations domestically. Like, all of these people need everything to get started again. And there are social service agencies that will guide them and direct them to charities that will help them out. Okay, so have a look around, take a look through this list here and see, what do you have that could really bless somebody else that you're not using anymore. Okay, so there we go. Any questions so far? I would invite you to please type them into the chat box. Don't forget, anytime that you think of something, type it into the chat box, or if you want to ask me at the end, we'll have time for that as well. Okie dokie. This is a great time as we change over seasons to pare down your wardrobe, right? The things that you didn't wear all winter, in a bag and out the door. I have 2 bags in my van right now, so I am practicing what I preach. So I hope this helps you. It helps me. I'm my own best customer. So this is kind of funny and true. Heading to Goodwill to donate after months of stay-at-home spring cleaning. Yes. With everything so topsy-turvy right now, what's open, what's closed, call ahead, check ahead, but a lot of the places are still accepting. But just double check before you go. Okay, so there we go. We've got the garbage, we've got the donations, and then we have the items that we feel we're going to sell. They have some residual value. You think that somebody would pay money for them, but let's just talk about pricing, because this is always where people get hung up, or often get hung up. Because it's valuable to you, people have a tendency to ascribe heart value to it. You know, that, oh, this was my child's favorite Barbie. Well, it's just a used Barbie to everybody else but you. So that's not the best example, but I think you know what I mean. The idea that it has a special place in your heart. Maybe a better example would be your dining room set. Now, because this has been the place where your clan has gathered for family meals that are very special, we imbue it with a lot of value. And the truth is that dining room sets in particular right now don't fit into a modern lifestyle. People don't do the big amount of entertaining that they used to do. They don't have a separate living room and kitchen and dining area. Typically, smaller homes, they don't allow for it. So you might have great attachment to your dining room set, but that doesn't mean that it has the value that you think it has. Could I just ask you to please mute your, oh, perfect, okay. And then the other thing is the replacement value. Prime example, I had bunk beds when my girls were little and I wanted to get rid of them. Now to replace bunk beds, $500 easy. But I was happy to accept $50 for them because I realized at the end of the day, they're used bunk beds. And so this person was willing to come and disassemble them and take them away, and I had $50. Perfect, it was a win-win. Now, there are some things that have some collectible value to them, and there's a list there for you to consider. And I really strongly suggest you get in contact with an expert in that field, in those collectibles, because some things have a surprising market value. Here is a great example. I've mentioned it before, but mid-century teak furniture is suddenly very, very popular. And I can tell you that on Facebook Marketplace, I've been watching listings for mid-century modern furniture that's teak because I love it. And the prices are going through the roof. $850 for a table and 4 chairs. $250 for a coffee table that's inlaid with terracotta tiles. Like, 15 years ago, this was the epitome of ugly. And now, all of a sudden, they are hot commodities because they have the sleek modernist lines that kind of is in keeping with our pared down aesthetic. And so they really sell quickly. There's some other items too, but a lot of things, you're really just happy to get anything for them. And I'm sorry to say that. And maybe it's hard to part with them. So Shane says in the comments there that the dining room sets are often too big. Yes, and that's true. You put them onto Facebook Marketplace and the entire set, if you got $350 or $500, you might be doing well. So talking about donations too, the companies that will take them and distribute them to those in need, They'll take the dining room table and chairs, but they don't want the china cabinets or the hutches, because you've got to think, in a startup apartment that's 900 square feet, you don't have room for that kind of furniture, and it's not very practical because people had those china cabinets to hold china and their collectibles, which nobody does either, right? So there isn't enough demand for them to keep the price up. That's the law of economics, right? The higher the demand, the higher the price, usually. But in this case, we have an overabundance, we have an oversupply, and an under demand. So that's not a very winning formula for getting rid of even things that were expensive previously. They just don't suit our lifestyles. Just as an aside, I was showing clients a home, brand new construction, $2 million home in North Richmond Hill, beautiful, done to the nines. Very interesting. They have a formal dining room, and they have a family room and a kitchen with an eat-in place. But it's like the family room is now becoming like, there's no sense of having a separate family room and living room in some of these big luxurious homes. It's like everything is all on one level, and you only really need one place to eat and one place to lounge. It's just interesting how architecture is adapting, but that's a total aside. So selling things, we've got some great places that we can refer you to if you want to sell your items. I love this. This is going to be me. There was an old woman who lived in a shoe and also had a timeshare in Hawaii. Yes. So the whole purpose of us selling our homes, selling our stuff, getting rid of our stuff is to trade it for experiences. Won't that be glorious when we can all travel again? Won't it be wonderful to have money in the bank and be able to do these things? Lovely. One day. So then we get to the best category, and those are the things that you're going to keep. And I say the best category because I want you to keep the best. I don't want you keeping the chipped china or the tattered towels or whatever it is, the subpar. Use the best, live the best. I sound like Oprah here. I want you to live your best life and keep the best for yourself, and give the rest of the things to people who really would value them. So the keep pile is the last category. And sometimes I have to say, like, it's a process. And the things that we put aside to keep, maybe we look at again with fresh eyes, especially if you're like me and I'm basically cheap and I think, am I going to pay somebody to move this? Or I just had clients who bought a new place and they got rid of all their old furniture. I don't know. I think they only took like his favorite chair. They moved it from their house in Aurora. They're moving into a brand new condo that was just finished. They're going to be moving in on the 27th of April. And they told me that they are not taking anything with them except Mr.'s favorite chair and, you know, their clothes and stuff like that. But all the rest of the furniture gone, and they bought themselves new, even mattresses. I thought that is fantastic. That's a dream come true, because most of the stuff we have in our houses, you know, kind of we got cobbled together, and now they get a chance to start from scratch, and it's been a big adventure. So good on them. And they're in their 80s, so I think that's really cool. Okay, so this is the lesson that we can even learn from our own children. I noticed this about my millennial children is they're not into stuff. They're into experiences. They don't care about owning a house. They care about being able to travel whenever that happens again. So I think we could learn a little bit there for sure. Okay, so we're going to keep the best, get rid of the rest, and work towards a lighter, brighter future. Questions? If you'd like to unmute yourself or type in your questions into the chat box, I welcome them. And at the end of the day, the things that we will enjoy from decluttering are tangible and intangible. They are experiential and they are emotional. And hopefully, you know, you might even have a few bucks in the bank and be able to treat yourself in a way that matters to you. So there is a reward at the end of this. We also want to tell you about a special program that we've developed to help you get started. But before that, the first step in crafting the life you want is to get rid of everything you don't. Isn't that what Michelangelo said about sculpting from marble? That he just took away everything that wasn't the statue. So let's start by idealizing your life the way you want it to be, and get rid of the things that don't serve that end purpose. Align your actions with your intentions, and you're going to see the results that are going to bring you joy and happiness and peace. So the 30-day decluttering challenge is an email campaign that we created to help you get started. Because I'm going to say that most clutter isn't really a storage problem, it's a procrastination problem. And if we can help you get started, I have every confidence that you will be able to continue and get the results that you deserve. So it starts off with, for example, this is not the entire email, this is just a snippet of it, but we start off with tackling the front hall closet. And we have a task with tips, inspirational quotes, and it's something that you can do with a friend, you can share and hold each other accountable. And it's a way to get started. I know it's not quite like what I said before about sticking in the basement, but I know that when I have this to follow off on, I'm just enough of a bossy firstborn that checking off that bubble, whatever it is for the day, makes me feel good and makes me feel like I'm accomplishing something. You'll notice that we've also included some rest days, some reward days. So this is a little bit of a task, maybe 25 minutes every day for the next month. And we guarantee, I sound like Jenny Craig, we guarantee you'll lose 30 pounds of ugly junk. So you can sign up with us and we'll start you on that 30-day decluttering challenge. And you can be doing it in coordination with somebody else. Like I said, you can be doing it on your own. And it doesn't stop you from also doing the campaign of divide and conquer in the basement. So it's not an either or, it's a both and. Okay, we like that. Okie dokie. So there's that for you. You're most welcome. I hope you will sign up and get started. I'm not going to come to your house and check. I'm not going to police this, but I hope you'll find it helpful. And then we also, this is our very special event for people who are living in the GTA. This is so great. I'm so excited about this. This is to help you with paper clutter, which it seems like the longer you live in a house that the paper is somehow multiplying. I'm not sure what it's doing down there in those banker's boxes, but it never seems to diminish. It only ever seems to grow. So we have rented a big mobile shredding truck, and we are taking in your shredding. We're not charging you for it, but we are accepting donations for chats here in Richmond Hill, because we really feel strongly that they do good work supporting seniors. So we will have this big truck. It's going to be parked. You make an appointment with Melissa, and we will get you a time slot. And the guys who run the shredding truck are great. You just pop your trunk, take the boxes, they dump them out. If you want to, you can watch on a CC closed circuit TV, and they shred them all up and then, you know, give you back your banker's boxes. So I hope you'll join us. They keep moving our date. It's not us doing it, it's the city of Markham. And we keep having it pushed off into the distance. But right now it is scheduled for May the 29th, Saturday, at the Heinzman House in Thornhill. So I know that some people have asked about their appointment. I will follow up with you tomorrow about that if you were one of the people who asked about an appointment. But I really do want to leave enough time for questions if you have any. Okay, so please reach out to us. You can unmute yourself, tell us about the situation, and hopefully we'll be able to come up with a solution for you. And while you're getting yourself oriented as to how you can unmute, or what do they do with all the shredded paper? Oh, that's a great question. honestly, they sell it to recycling companies that turn it back into paper. Like, you know, that I have a ream here from Staples of office paper, and it says 50% post-consumer recycled content. That's what they do. They sell it themselves. There's like they're almost like a broker of shredded fiber. So that's what they do. And then we have a great new offering in terms of area. We've been doing condo market tours in person for more than 4 years, but this is going to be a new area that we're covering, and that is Aurora and Newmarket. So we look at 8 to 10 condos that are all 2 bedrooms or larger, and we keep them in the moderate price range. Like there really are, believe it or not, in Aurora right now, there's a condo for sale that's $3.25 million. We're just going to keep it very moderate, 2 bedrooms or larger. And I show you these 8 to 10 different condo apartments as a way of orienting you in the communities to see what your money can buy, what are the maintenance fees, how big are they, what kinds of amenities. It's really informative. And if you are thinking of a condo as a potential next property, even if it's not Aurora or Newmarket, I welcome you to join us. And then I'll teach you all about buying a condo in that 1 hour or so, okay? So we have them in different communities. This month it is Aurora and Newmarket, okay? So questions, yes, I definitely know about the request for an appointment. I will double check and make sure it gets dealt with tomorrow. Any other questions about the real estate market, about decluttering, about, you know, chicken recipes, spot removal? I don't know what you need, but just let me know if there's anything I can help you with. I definitely will. And in the meantime, you can find us online. Anything that you, any of our programs, you can go right to our website, smartrealtysolution.com, and sign up for it, including the 30-day decluttering challenge. And you can also reach out to me on Facebook or Instagram, or you can actually call me. I know, how archaic. So, anybody want to unmute and ask a question or type one into the box? I feel like I should play the Jeopardy music. Okay, well, you know that anytime, if you get off of this webinar tonight and you think of something, you've got a particular category of item that you're not sure about how to dispose of, or you know what to do with it, please reach out. I'm happy. If I don't know the answer, I'm happy to brainstorm. Okay, so you can definitely reach out and sign up for the condo tour, the 30-day decluttering challenge, any of the other things by sending me an email or by going on our website. Okay. Oh, so one of the comments came in is that my problem is that I feel I have to find the perfect home for every item I'm donating. Okay, so sometimes I think we just have to trust the process. And I know that's not easy, but if you were to give your items to a charity, I'm thinking, for example, of, well, there's 2 that come to mind. The lesser of the 2 is Habitat for Humanity. They are definitely getting pickier about what they take because there's such a surplus. But the one that I really, really like is called the Furniture Bank. And I'll tell you why I like them. Number one, they are a not-for-profit. And it's going to come as a surprise, but they actually charge you to come and pick up the stuff because they run this huge facility for people who are genuinely in need. And their business model is that they don't make a profit, but they ask the people who have more to cover the cost of transportation. And so they have this huge 27,000 square foot warehouse in Etobicoke, and people who are genuinely in need are referred through social service agencies, and they can shop in dignity and be able to pick out the things that they like to furnish a new apartment, for example. So people who are refugees or coming from the shelter system, and just to know that you're really making a difference in someone's life. I encourage you to look them up. They are all over the internet. You can find out even their operating budgets, everything. They are like fully disclosing of it. And they charge you by how much of the truck you are using in order to pick it up. So lots of people I know feel better about donating definitely than putting it to the curb, right? To know that it's not going into landfill, that it's going to help somebody. I really, really like what they are doing and what they're about. Their whole ethos really jives with mine, and I would gladly donate to them. Maybe the other thing is to connect with a neighbor, and maybe you split the cost of the truck. And, oh, I forgot to tell you, they write you a tax receipt because they're a not-for-profit. They give you a tax receipt for your donation in kind. And from what I've heard, it's a couple of times whatever it costs you. Yes, the china cabinets are always the problem. They'll take the table and chairs, but they don't want the cabinets really, because they're for apartments and people don't really have the space for them. But let's just say they charged you $500 to pick up a full big load of stuff. They will give you a tax receipt for the charitable donation. Usually it's 2 times and a bit. So maybe $1,200, they'll give you a tax receipt. So check them out. And they are still operating, because you know that even though COVID has shut down so many things, the people in need, they never get shut down. They never stop needing. As a matter of fact, they probably need it more now than ever. I think for your china cabinet, the best bet is Facebook Marketplace. We've had some really good results there. As long as you price it to move, there are a lot of people on Facebook Marketplace they shop online for things. And it's interesting, there's a bunch of people who are repainting them now and then selling them almost like a flip, but that's not your issue. Your issue is, let's just get it out of the house and get a few bucks for it. Are there instances where you think a storage locker is a good idea? What about those pods things? Okay. The only time I think that a storage unit is warranted is if it's a stopgap issue between 2 moves. They are extraordinarily expensive. The minimum that would be useful is about $400 a month. That's like a lot of money. That's $4,800 a year. We looked into it to store some of our real estate supplies. I sometimes have things for staging properties and that, and it's ridiculously expensive. Now, those pod things, again, they are a good temporary storage situation. They're a great way to move. You can load them all yourself. Where they catch you is not the storage of the pod itself, it's the transportation. So again, we were just working with clients who were moving from one place to another, but there was a gap in the closing dates. So they have 3 weeks between the 2 houses. One of them is selling. Now they're kind of homeless for 3 weeks. And we looked at getting them a pod for that purpose. And the whole idea was you could load it up, it would sit there, and then they move the whole pod to the new place, and then you can unpack it. But I think it was about $900 for a 20-foot pod, including the pod, including the delivery, including the pickup and moving of it. So it's certainly not a cheap option, but it would make perfect sense if you were doing a big renovation. And you wanted a place to put things while, your main floor was being gussied up or whatever it is. So the storage lockers end up being, for a lot of people, something that they intend to be temporary, and they just keep paying for it. And then, yeah, so I think, yeah, they have, there's a reason why they are everywhere, and that's because people do need them. So we found a good solution where the movers will take their stuff and move it into storage for 3 weeks and then move it back to storage. So out of storage to their new house. Yeah. The definition of temporary. Yeah. It's really just more deferring of the decision. I would much rather you take that $900 and pay a professional organizer to come and help you purge. That's a way better investment as far as I'm concerned. But that's just me. Okay, so yeah, these are all great comments. Really appreciate it. It's amazing. I've seen wonders. A 3-person organization crew, like professional organizers, for 3 people for 6 hours. That's 18 person hours, 18 man hours, and they will do the entire house in that time and have it completely ready for sale. It's pretty incredible because they, like I said, they don't take any of it personally. They don't, they don't flip through the children's books. They don't, they just are packing it away. They are just organizing it. They are just purging it, and they are there professionally. Yeah. Nobody wants the brown furniture, and I can't stand wasting anything. I'm not sure if that's sentiment or not. Oh no, I totally understand. I totally understand. Now, the way that I have gotten past this with the brown furniture is like I have from 1990, we purchased the very first big piece of furniture was this gorgeous solid cherry Duncan Fife dining room set from a manufacturer in Quebec. And this was like, it was eating craft dinner for a couple of months in order to get this, but we really wanted it. And the thing is, I almost look at that as like a used car with 200,000 miles on it. You know what? It served its purpose. It doesn't owe me a thing. And if it's costing me more money to house it than it is to let it go, then why not just let it go? And the truth is, I don't even like that furniture anymore. And I'm going to be like that couple in their 80s who gets rid of everything and buys all new. Like, that seems so foolish. But can you imagine the pleasure that they're going to have of not mismatched furniture anymore that's been hobbled together from all these different sources, but they get to really pick what they like. And it's not a waste. If you've used it and you've gotten its use out of it, let it go on to somebody else. And there's more than just utilitarianism to think about, right? Utility is not the only measure of something's worth. There's aesthetic pleasure. Yes, yeah, well, there are lots of people out there who would be glad for your surplus. Imagine your surplus is like a godsend to a lot of people. The things that we don't even like or think about, give a second thought. These are things that would totally change a family's life. I remember on the Furniture Bank website reading a story of refugees where the children were literally sleeping on the floor. So when we've all had times in college when we didn't have 2 nickels to rub together, when we're sitting and eating on boxes or whatever. But imagine, having to go through that again as a grown-up with children in tow. Yeah, so it's really a great way to spread the wealth and make a difference in somebody's life. Okay, wow. Somehow I managed to fill up the entire 58 minutes. So I appreciate the comments, the interaction, and I hope you feel inspired, even though it's 8 o'clock at night and it's been a long day for many of us. I really would encourage you to take the next step while your motivation is high. Sign up for the 30-day decluttering challenge. Come have a conversation with me if you want over the phone. If there's anything I can do for you, seriously, please reach out. It's our pleasure to serve you. So on behalf of Melissa Mendez and myself, thank you for joining us. I'm going to stop the screen share now, and we'll look forward to connecting with each of you again at another future event. Bye for now.